Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Aftersight. I'm your host, Penn Street, and today's guest is Matt Gesualdi. And yes, I probably butchered his name, but I'm trying. Matt is really changing the way that blind people and actually even visual people that how they're interacting at different exhibits in museum and through art in general, and how that is really changing the world about so that when blind people do go visit museums, that not only is it accessible, but it's also a really awesome learning experience. So when we come back, Matt will share, his passion for this incredible work he does and the journey that actually brought him here today. So stay with us and we'll be right back with Matt.
You're listening to Aftersight with Penn Street, an AINC original podcast. If you enjoy what you hear, please visit aincolorado.org for more shows, news, and articles read by our amazing staff and volunteers. If you have a question for Penn or would like to recommend a guest for future shows, please visit aincolorado.org/podcast-guest. And now, here's your host, Penn Street.
Matt, welcome to Aftersight, and I'm so sorry if I butchered your last name.
Thanks, Penn. No, you did a great job. Gesualdi.
Gesualdi.
Yep.
And it's a mouthful, but it's a beautiful last name.
Yeah.
Is there a story behind it?
It's Italian, and the story that we know is that there are two different parts to it. One is that it means of the Jesuits, or something close to that. And there's a town in Italy, in southern Italy, called Gesualdo that we visited. And it wasn't that impressive as far as genealogy, but we did visit a town very much in the south called Bovino. And we were treated like family because half the town is a Gesualdi.
Oh.
And there's about a quarter of the town that's Schiappinelli, which is another part of the family line. So we were invited to things that, I don't think normally people would be invited to.
Wow.
It was nice.
That's wonderful. It sounds like a movie. Like, you go back to find your roots and you find this amazing town and this family that you didn't know you had. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a movie script. Awesome. Well, Matt, if you've listened to Aftersight, you know that at the top of the show, I like to do some questions, just quick fire questions so that people can get to know you just a little bit better. And before we dive in, is that all right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay, great. Do you believe which is more important, education or experience?
I think education is experience and experience is education. So can I say 50-50 as long as you treat them that well?
Yes, I do. I like that. I like that a lot. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Introvert.
Introvert. I do find that people that are in the arts tend to be introverts, which kind of goes against what you're doing, but that seems pretty typical. So
yeah, it doesn't help with marketing, that's for sure.
Yeah. Are words or actions more important to you?
Actions.
Actions. Awesome. Me too. 100% on that one. If what would be more important to you if you could see the future or change the past?
I think because the only option I have is to work on the future, then I'm going to say see the future. Because the past doesn't really mean as much to me, except genealogy and ancestors and things like that. But
yeah, I've contemplated this question quite a bit about if I could go back in the past and change something. I don't necessarily think that I would, and the butterfly effect thing.
Yeah,
but
right.
Like if you change one thing, well then, will that not create me that I am today?
Exactly.
So,
There's a relationship I would delete from my past. I would have told my 9-year-old self to learn more languages, practice more languages, and maybe get into archaeology, and that would have sent me on a different course. And I like where I'm at, so I don't think I would do that, as much fun as it would be to have, an alternate universe where I could go back and not screw up my own.
Exactly. Then maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Matt, if you had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh my God. Oh, you could have prepped me for that one. Oh, this is going to be a weird answer because music, although I love music, it's not so much a part of me that it affects me. I mean, I don't.
Mm-hmm. And that's okay.
Music, yeah.
Yeah, it really is okay. One of the reasons I like asking these questions is because I almost feel like the way people answer them or the reaction to it is almost more important than the actual words, right? So
good. So I still passed.
Yeah, you still passed.
My non-answer.
Your non-answer. Well, Matt, thank you so much for being on Aftersight. I know you're really busy, and the year is wrapping up. We got through Christmas and Hanukkah, and now New Year's Eve is this weekend, and I know it's a busy time for everybody. But so thank you so much for being here,
pleasure.
Matt. I don't know a lot about your background. I do know that you're visually impaired. Were you born blind with vision? Were you born with vision loss, or did that come later?
I'm sorry to tell you this, but I'm not visually impaired at all.
You don't have to be sorry.
Well, that just feels like I've derailed your thought.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Okay. That's me not asking the question. I just
That's all right.
I think it's sighted people take it for granted that everybody's sighted. Well, I think people who are visually impaired just think everybody's visually impaired. No, that actually goes right into my next question is, so what happened in your life to create this passion? And I did read up on you about how scaling is important, especially for people who are blind and visually impaired. It's hard to teach scale. And the way I can, and maybe I should let you better describe it, which I'll let you, but like mountains, when somebody who's totally blind and has never seen mountains, but they know they're big, well, they think they're always big. So it's hard to explain that the further something away from you is, it looks smaller, even though it isn't smaller. And that's probably a horrible way to describe it. But how did you ever end up doing what you're doing? Were you a little kid and like this is what I'm going to grow up to be, or did something trigger this in your life?
I probably had a few different triggers. I had a pretty typical childhood as far as watching TV. I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of television. We didn't really get a TV until I was 7. And then there were 3 channels, 4 if you include PBS, which nobody does. And I only watched what my parents watched in the evening. And one of the things that they liked, or maybe it was the least of the 3 evils of what was on the 3 channels, we watched the Kung Fu series with David Carradine.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And Blind Master Po was amazing to me. He was the baddest of the badasses. And, there was his backstory about how he lost his sight. And it was interesting, not so much that I thought blindness turned you into a superhero, but it was interesting that somebody could think of that as being possible, that hearing was good enough, smelling was good enough. He could hear things nobody else could hear. And then, unfortunately, comic books came along and Daredevil corrupted my thought of what blind people could do, because now he really was a superhero.
Exactly.
But it never really occurred to me until I was in my 20s that there was a disconnect, such a major disconnect. And so the story is that my mom and my brother and I went to France for a vacation in 97. And in Paris, there's a museum for the Middle Ages, and the building itself was a building that was around since the Middle Ages. And there was a model of it inside. And the more I looked at the model, the more I realized that it had been touched a lot. It coincided with me getting my bachelor's degree in industrial design, and I needed a capstone project. So the whole flight back, I was scribbling on every piece of paper I could find ideas about how to build an architectural model that was touchable. And I'd been building architectural models for an architectural firm for about 7 years by then.
Wow.
So I started experimenting, and the models that we'd been building were untouchable by anyone. They were under a piece of an acrylic shell.
Right.
And they were pretty solid. We had to ship them across the country, sometimes to another country. So they were solid, but very untouchable.
Right.
I started doing a lot of research, and as part of my capstone, I went to the Colorado Center for the Blind for questions, because they were a good source. They were, the only group of blind individuals that I could walk into and say, hey, what do you think?
Yeah.
And I asked the dumbest questions, the worst, ill-conceived, ignorant questions that I could. And over the next maybe month or two of bringing more items for them to touch and look at, and get an idea of how blind people see with their hands, I started to realize that this project was not only very possible, but very necessary. And I built the May D&F Tower. It's a clock tower downtown. That was
that's right.
Yeah, it's a beautiful tower. It's very tall. It was the tallest thing this side of the Mississippi for decades. I think it was finished in 1911, 1912.
Oh.
And, compared to a lot of the buildings, it's not that tall, but compared to us, it is extremely tall. So I made the building, and I put little people at the bottom in scale. Presented it. I didn't invite anybody from the CCB, the Colorado Center for the Blind, to my capstone presentation. I just, had instructors and students.
Yeah.
And everybody thought it was great. And I thought, yeah, that's nice. And I brought it to the CCB at some point and got a much more intense reaction.
Like positive or negative?
Yes.
Or a mix? Oh,
very, very positive. Very emotional. Very appreciative. And that was the encouragement that I needed to believe that I could move on. And a lot of things happened in between then and, well, I considered it an expensive hobby for a long time.
Yeah.
And even though I did a lot of things, built a lot of models for people, a lot of different kinds of things, experimenting the whole way, always getting CCB involved in product testing, because they were my focus group.
Yeah.
And depending on their age, they're either brutally honest or very just generally happy. It just depended on who it was. And then the Denver Art Museum commissioned me for something in 2017. And then I considered it a business.
Oh, is that when you started your company?
No, the company started earlier than that. I probably started it in 2000 or 2001 because I had aspirations. I wanted it to go in a certain direction, and it didn't go in that direction. And then it started going in another direction. And, basically I thought museums were going to be my outlet. And then nothing happened. I couldn't get anybody's attention.
Wow, that is surprising to me, though.
Well,
why wouldn't it?
I had it explained by somebody at a museum. And basically the culture is that unless you're tested and approved by another museum, you won't get into your second one. So it's that you can't get a job until you get experience, but you can't experience until you get a job.
Get a job, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So it took some decent pushing and the right person at the Denver Art Museum to listen to what I wanted to do. And it was a very small part of a very large exhibit that they were doing, but they wanted a tactile element to it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did they want a tactile element specifically so that people could access it tactually, specifically for blind and visually impaired people? Or was it just the overall design and they thought that would be a cool addition?
Yes, definitely. The first one I did was called Animals in Art.
Oh.
And uses of animals in art in different ways. I mean, sometimes figuratively, like, paintings of animals that were, not just that there was a dog in the corner of a painting, but
right.
The animals, whatever they were more featured in the art.
Okay.
All the way to literally, pieces of animals, whether it was fur or nails or, just things that you could get from an animal. And a lot of a lot of Native Americans created clothing out of animal fur. And that was the exhibit that I was helping.
Okay.
They had a table that they wanted fully accessible, and it had a reproduction of a fur coat and a scale model of the full outfit, not just the coat, but someone in a hat and boots. And they wanted to feature the three different kinds of furs that were part of that exhibit. So there was elk, wolverine, and I wish I could make up something that sounded right, but I forget what the third one was. But there were 3 samples of the furs, and what I did was build the receptacles for those samples, made it so the samples could be exchanged, because you rub fur enough, it starts to get matted and dirty.
Oh, right,
and then
right.
Under each piece of fur, I had the outline, a raised outline of the animal.
Oh.
And specifically because of the wolverine, elk, and moose. There it is.
Okay.
The size disparity between a wolverine and a moose isn't, I think most people just wouldn't know how small a wolverine is and how big a moose is unless you've been in the woods and encountered one.
Right,
so
right.
I put the outline of a human figure. So all 3 animals were in the same scale as the human figure.
Right, right.
And that was my first, foray into making scale the most important aspect of it. I thought it was more important than the animal because, an animal's an animal.
If there's nothing to compare it to. And so you put together that exhibit, and that kind of got your foot in the door with the museum. And then what happened?
A couple things happened at that point. That was 2017. And 2018, I made myself a resolution that no matter what somebody said, I would say yes. Because before I was trying to direct TactEd, the name of my company, into something specific. And I was being too narrow. I told myself I want lots of experience in doing lots of things, but I really wanted to make it with museums. And at some point I just said, okay, if anybody asks me anything, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to build it. Even if it's for free, I don't care. 2 things happened. The art museum asked me if I would do an exhibit for their Rembrandt exhibit that was happening toward the end of the year, near the end of the year, actually. And that seemed really fun. They were doing an exhibit about Rembrandt's prints instead of his paintings. He's more famous for his paintings, but he did zinc and copper prints. And they're beautiful, but they're not very colorful, usually not colored at all. And very, very fine detail in the mechanism of how to make a print. So we talked about what they wanted and what I wanted. They're very good about listening to me, at least especially now, because I mean, I'm going to plug the Denver Art Museum a little bit. They were doing tactile tables way before they knew me, way before they've ever I ever did anything for them.
That's good. That's good. Well, and I think they too were one of the leaders in museums doing audio in their spaces as well.
Yeah, especially in Colorado.
Yes,
and they're upping their game right now. They're working with somebody who's very good at doing audio descriptions. I'll leave it at that. But
yeah,
so they wanted something that would interpret how a copper plate was made. And my audience is always visual and non-visual, because visual people skip over things too quickly. They'll
yes,
look at an explanation and skim it and then walk away and not actually learn anything. I think that's where the experiential part comes in, because I want everybody to experience so they can learn it. So, if you imagine these fine scratches on a copper plate, which is about the size of a smaller than a sheet of regular paper.
Wow.
These scratches are about the width of a hair.
Oh.
And it's difficult to show properly. So I built a board that had an enlargement of these 3 different kinds of grooves that Rembrandt used sometimes. And this is the point that they were one of the points they're trying to make, is that Rembrandt would sometimes use all 3 of these techniques in one print, which is really, really tough. It's not like using 3 different kinds of pens and pencils. It's 3 different techniques that can contradict each other when you're building this image. So I made these 3 enlarged grooves. You could feel them, you could touch them, you could look at them. There was a slice out of one edge, so you could see a cutaway of them, so you knew what the depth of them was. And as usual, I put a scale marker in, because if you just give somebody a model of an enlarged atom, you can say, hey, this is a carbon atom.
Yeah.
And you go, great, it's the size of my hand. What's that telling me?
Yeah.
So these grooves had to have some scale marker, and I put a penny, what a penny would look like at that scale. And basically it's it's the size of your palm. That the thickness of it is the size of your palm.
Yeah,
and it was just the edge of a penny sticking out.
Wow.
So you're always getting into this feeling of scale when I'm trying to show something, because it's important that the technique is there, the materials are there, but you get a sense of how big those things are compared to you, and you are compared to them.
Wow.
And the other thing that happened that year, and this is a funny story, I'll try to shorten it because it is kind of a long story, but one of my good friends was running the Denver Maker Faire for the first year that for him.
Yeah.
And that was going to be at the end of 2018. And we were talking, and he said, I need a main exhibit. You have any ideas? And I said, and this is the beginning of 2018.
Yeah.
And I said, I've had this thing rolling around in my head for about 3 months, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. I want to present it to you. So give me 2 weeks. So the end of January, I did this presentation to just him. And so 3 months before that, I was at National Federation of the Blind Colorado meeting, and they were talking about what they wanted to do at state convention.
Yeah.
And they were talking about different activities. And I had just done an escape room.
Oh,
and I
wow.
Thought, what about, and it's rattling around in my brain, and then thinking, no, that's not going to work. No, that's not going to work. That's definitely not going to work. So I just wrote on a piece of paper, pitch black escape room.
Oh, what a great idea.
It was fun, but it's one of those things where you go, okay, this is big. It's bigger than I am, bigger than my shop.
Yeah.
This is not something that is probably a one-person job.
Yeah.
So I sketched, and things like that keep me awake, and I'll sketch on them. And him saying, do you have a main exhibit? I had to sell it as educational first. I thought he wanted it STEM oriented, because he wanted it to be accessible to lots of different demographics.
Right.
And he did a really good job, by the way, of making it accessible for everyone. He was going for different socioeconomic demographics. gender demographics, because maker fairs are notoriously guy fests, and he wanted to break that barrier too. So he was going for everything, including accessibility of every kind. So when I showed him this idea, he went bonkers, and he goes, "Okay, we need to make it bigger, though." So that blossomed into a gigantic 8-month-long project with me guiding this, 4 other people, 4 other designers in their own ways. We built it in the basement of the Colorado Center for the Blind. They gave us half of their gymnasium. They have a gigantic gymnasium. So half of it was a huge shop. And we built everything in it, tested it every day, almost every day. We'd grab students and say, "Hey, we got this interaction. What do you think?" So that's one of the things that I'm very proud of, is that everything I do is tested. I make no assumptions anymore. I still remember the stupid questions I asked, and I'm still very aware that I'm not the end user when it comes to visually impaired. So I have to ask the end users. And it works.
And Matt, I don't know if you know how rare that is. Regardless, whether it's something like you're doing or technology, anything, public transportation, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We rarely have a seat at the table when those decisions are being made for us. And you can tell, there's so much technology out there that, excuse my French, but it's crap, because it's somebody who was sighted thought, oh, this is what the blind world needs, instead of asking the blind world what we need. So that's awesome. That is extremely rare, and I hope you know that. So it is.
Unfortunately, I do know it's rare. There's a technique called human-centered design, and it starts with asking.
Yeah.
And that's really what I want to do. That's what I always want to do. I don't want to propose. I want to ask.
Yeah. And I would love, do you remember some of those, you keep saying dumb questions. Do you remember any of them? I'm curious.
Yeah. I brought some examples of, like I brought a couple toys, motorcycles, and they were different sizes. I've got this Evel Knievel motorcycle that I still have. It's, just like a foot long. Yeah. And then I bought a little toy one that was only about 3 inches long.
Okay.
And I thought I was going to trick them and not believe that they could tell it was the same object, generally the same object.
Oh, interesting.
I know. It was. Wow. I've never said that out loud. It's really stupid.
It's okay. No, but it shows how the sighted world really does not understand the blind world.
Yeah.
That's
I brought car models doing somewhat the same thing, but different cars.
Yeah.
And, I mean, to me, if you've never seen a car, it's unlikely that you're going to touch every single part of a car if you're visually impaired. Touch the wheels, touch the tires, touch everything around it. But, and I took really good notes, noting people who'd been born blind or people who lost their vision at a very young age or lost their vision a little bit more in life or a little bit further in life, because that skews a little bit of what the answers are. But it helped everything.
Yeah, exactly.
People who were born blind knew it was a car immediately.
Yeah.
And were very curious about what kind of car it was and that the doors open. It's a toy. You want to play with it. But
right.
Everything I got was reinforcement that I was underestimating blind people. And that did 2 things. It put me in shame for a while because, I just thought I'm not doing the right thing. This is really bad of me to even try it. But it also encouraged me because now I could push further. Yeah. There was no reason to underestimate that population. It was just now, how can I challenge that population?
Right.
And that's been the most fun thing, I think.
Oh, that's awesome. So how many rooms did the escape room have? And was there, I know I've been in escape rooms,
Mhm.
they were not accessible on any level. So
Yeah,
I was just there for the friends, but how many rooms? And then was there a theme for the escape room?
it was one room.
Oh, okay.
When I started thinking about it more and more, it's funny. I wasn't worried about the blind people. I was worried about the sighted people being in a pitch
Oh,
black room. Um,
interesting.
yeah, I mean, you put a sighted person in a pitch black room, and they're going to fumble around and possibly fall. And I didn't want that liability.
Oh, okay.
Um, as soon as there's confusion in something, people stop engaging.
Mm,
They'll, or at least engaging nicely. Um, it goes back to teaching. I taught for 15 years, and if I made something too difficult, I disengaged my students, and
mhm.
I could see it in their faces. They were just wandering off, wishing they were somewhere else. And as soon
Right,
as
right.
when I started explaining it well, they were engaged.
Yeah,
So I didn't want to disengage people and say, "You're not going to have fun at this. It's pitch black. Good luck." Um,
yeah.
the other thing I was worried about, and this is pre-COVID, but I was worried about too much human contact because
Mhm.
um, when you're walking with a cane in front of you, if you're blind,
Yeah,
that's usually the first thing that hits. And then, you might brush elbows or something like that.
right.
And
Yeah,
that that's a demographics that is used to human contact, and it's
right,
usually fairly safe. Usually, unfortunately, it's not always safe. But
right.
sighted people aren't really, we've got this boundary around us that if you come into this circle, you better know me.
Right,
And
yeah, I hadn't thought of that, but now that you're saying it, I'm like, yeah, you would, you know like, when I've been in escape rooms, we all knew each other, but sometimes we
mm,
were coworkers, right?
right.
And, and of course, I had my cane. Actually, one time I might have had my guide dog, but
Mm,
yeah, I think a guide dog or a cane creates its own barrier around you. Um, but yeah, sighted people, it's so
yeah.
visual, I guess. So yeah. So what
Yeah.
did you do? How did you create a safety net for that, I guess?
Um, it was more of a safety rope, if I can take that
Oh,
analogy.
oh,
So it was one room, and we built a hexagon.
okay.
Each wall of that hexagon was about 7 feet, no, 6 feet wide and 7 feet tall.
Oh, okay.
And one of the walls was the entry. So there were 5 walls and 5 different interactions.
Hmm.
The entry wall we built into a room. So it was basically a rectangle pushed up against a hexagon.
Okay.
And you'd walk into this first room. We called it the light lock. That was not my name. I wish I'd named it. But basically, when you're in space, there's an airlock because you're going from space to the space shuttle or
Oh,
the
right, right.
space station. You've got to equalize.
Yeah.
So this was our equalizer. People would walk in, um, maximum of 5 people, and I'd be in there with them. I would close the door and start talking to them, and there would be a curtain drawn between the light lock and the actual hexagon part,
Okay.
so they couldn't see inside. And talking mostly about sighted people. The lights would start dimming automatically, and I would reassure them that this is not an escape room; it's a puzzle room. There's
Mm,
nobody else in there except us.
okay.
Nobody will be grabbing you. Nobody's touching you. You're all individually
It's not a
working on.
haunted
Exactly.
house. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's no zombie on a chain that's getting longer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
um, and basically, calming people down was
Yeah.
we did a soft opening. I think about a month before, and that was something that came out of it that the people reacted well to that calming effect of walking in to a very unfamiliar space that they not only had not seen but will never see. Um,
Oh, that's right.
So they followed a rope, and there was a rope that we had put around the wall, started in light lock, and as soon as I opened the curtain, it was pitch black.
Mm.
And they could follow the rope to a shape that they would recognize as their wall. Basically, it was just numbered 1 through 5. So each rope had a either 5 bumps on it, or 4 bumps, or 3 bumps.
Oh, right. Yeah.
They stopped there and they interacted, and I was in the middle. It was a very big space. I mean, each wall was 6 feet wide. We're talking about around 12 or 13 feet from corner to corner on the inside. There was plenty of space.
Yeah.
And I could tell, because it had so much experience already working in that, I could tell when people were fumbling, when they were getting frustrated. And I'd ask them if they wanted a hint, or if I'd ask them if they were doing okay. Just that calming reassurance of, yeah, I know you could see 5 minutes ago and now you can't see anything. And I know what it's like. It's scary, but you're okay.
Yeah.
What was interesting was that the difference, and I wish I'd taken notes, but it was really hard to take notes and be in the moment at the same time.
Yeah.
But there was a group of blind people at the Maker Faire, and they went in, and there wasn't a huge advantage. And that was something that I really was disappointed about, and that I really liked. Yeah. Well, because a puzzle is a puzzle.
Oh, that is true. That is true.
I've never done it, and it's the same. So at some point, I was really okay with that. Because I'd made something that put sighted and blind on equal footing.
Yes.
Same experience.
Which rarely happens. Rarely happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really, really does. Everything, like I've read about escape rooms that were forced to be accessible to the blind, and putting Braille everywhere is not the same. I mean, if you understand how blind people see, you see, and I know I'm preaching to the choir with you, but for those of you who don't know, blind people see one fingertip at a time, sometimes a palm at a time. And that's not a lot of information.
Right.
Sighted people can scan a room and get our bearings, and not having that makes things really difficult. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to make the interactions not so big, not a full room.
Yeah.
So everything is within you. I had a couple kids who had some problems. We made 2 of the interactions wheelchair accessible. So we were very conscious about height, and if someone came in a wheelchair, we directed them toward that one wall. But sometimes we underestimated the height of children.
Oh, right. They do range in size.
They do. So I think luckily they weren't really paying much to get in. They'd already paid to get into the Maker Faire, but it was a complete success. Loved it so much that we had a line.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How long did it take to get through the puzzle?
We had to make it 12 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Because at first we were timing it, and we'd say, okay, we'll give everybody 15 minutes, and that should be enough. And then when the actual day came, it was a 2-day weekend, and we set up in the morning, had a few groups go in, and there was a lull. So I walked out and saw nobody in line, and I went, oh, crap.
Oh,
okay. This failed.
Yeah.
Word got around. It's not very fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
I walked up to the person who was taking names at first, who was guiding the line, and I said, so we're dead in the water?
Yeah.
And she goes, oh, hell no. No. We have a list. And she showed me this list of people with phone numbers and times. So she was going to text people and say, you're up in 5 minutes, and keep going like that. And we were booked an hour after Maker Faire officially closed.
Wow.
Yeah. And the next day we were already booked.
So obviously this is something that was, super exciting to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought of making it a permanent installation somewhere?
Yes and no. I know that's a goofy answer. My first intention was for this, not it, because I knew the one we had made was going to be somewhat temporary because things were breaking already.
Oh, okay.
And it was just an experiment. To me, that was the grand experiment.
Okay.
Real quickly, 2 weeks later was the National Federation of the Blind State Convention weekend.
Okay.
Actually, it's about 4 days, but they were at a hotel, and I knew I wanted to bring the pitch black puzzle room to them. So we had arranged for that, and I had it up for Saturday and Sunday at the NFB convention.
Nice.
That's where I got more encouragement about it being permanent, or something like it being redone.
Right.
Because that was my audience.
Yes.
I know sighted people enjoyed it. I know, we rarely experience pitch black because it's hard to do. There's always a light.
Yeah.
There's always some freaking
Cell
thing with a
phone.
light on it.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
So I knew, I was getting some interest, but then when the blind community said, we want this, I said, okay, let's talk about logistics. And the thing, it always boils down to money.
Yes.
And where are you going to put it? And how portable can I make this?
Right.
It was difficult to be portable. We built it to be portable.
Wow.
And the first weekend we were at Maker Faire, we had 7 or 8 people helping us set it up. And the 5 of us ran it. Me and the 4 other designers.
Right.
When we set it up for the NFB, 2 weeks later, it was my wife and I setting it up.
Oh my goodness.
And we eliminated a lot of things because there were a lot of extra parts that we didn't need. There was a lot of pre-theater and post-theater stuff that we really didn't need.
Yeah.
We had, I think, I've got the numbers somewhere. I think in that second weekend, we had about 120 people go through it at the NFB.
Oh,
convention.
Easily. Yeah, I go to quite a few of them, and that would make sense that there would be that many people.
Yeah. And word of mouth, went further and further. So we got busier as the day went on. And then the next day, people were ready. But yeah, it boils down to money. And
absolutely.
Who stores this thing?
Right.
So I have spoken to Jessica Beecham, the new president. And we've talked about doing a smaller version of it, like 1 or 2 interactive walls without an enclosure. Mostly because if you're at an NFB event and you're not completely blind, then you'll be wearing what are they calling them now? Sleep shades, goggles.
I know. Yeah, I can't remember what they're called, but yeah, it's like a friendlier version, and they're not. They look more like glasses, not sleep shades.
I think they're learning goggles or something like that. Or
something.
I know it's
like
the word
that.
goggles.
Yeah.
But so if you still have some vision, usually you'll be wearing those goggles. So it doesn't have to be inside a pitch black room anymore.
That's true.
But again, it comes down to money and storage. I don't want to store.
Right.
I would love to be able to, but there's no way. So we're still talking about stuff.
That's awesome. Well, and I know escape rooms in general, I feel like they have it up for like 3 months, and then they have to switch it out, to get more people to come. And it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of upkeep because people are brutal.
Yes.
Especially when they're panicking under the clock.
Yeah. Exactly.
A lot of things break.
Yeah. That's true. So what are you working on now, and what's next? What's next for you?
I just finished a tactile map for the Black American West Museum in 5 Points.
Oh,
and
wow.
That's current to me because they're still doing soft openings and it's still being experienced. And there hasn't been a lot of advertisement for the blind community because that's the only tactile interaction. And it's got more to do with the neighborhood than the museum itself. So I'm going to talk to them about doing more. Yeah. But it's an interesting map. It's I think it was done in the 30s or 40s, and it shows the racial disparities and not just disparities, but how many different races there were in that 5 Points neighborhood.
Wow.
So it breaks it down into blocks, and I've got textures for every block, and there's a legend. Basically, I just took their map and overlaid only transparent textures on it.
Wow.
So you can still see the original map.
Right.
Because the original artwork was important. And
Yeah.
what I've added is just a tactile element to it.
Wow.
I'm always experimenting. When I have downtime in between things, I experiment. And the experiments are fun. I did a part of a Frida Kahlo self-portrait, and it was an interesting painting in itself, and turning it into something tactile was very interesting.
How large was it?
So to make her life size, I scaled the painting up in the computer and realized that it was going to be a little bit too big. So I did an 11 by 17 section of that scaled up. Basically her shoulder, part of her chest, her arm, and her spinal column, which was exposed from the front because she had a lot of spinal breakages.
Right.
So it looked like a Roman column that had cracks in it, the way she painted it.
Wow.
And I wanted to just experiment with that. I just did a series of tactile globes. And so I had done some for Michelle Chacon at the NFB, or at ECB. And I wanted to do a second generation of it because it was the least tested object I've ever done, but it was under a short deadline. So I wanted to build a second generation of it and have it tested, and got lots of good feedback
awesome.
from all kinds of people at that convention. So I'm working on that. I'm working on not just the design, but the actual production of it, because I want it to be affordable. I want it to be as dirt cheap as I can make it, so it's very affordable to people, schools. So I'm working on production techniques of it now.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think it was at one of the National Federation of the Blind international national convention. Might have been when they were in Dallas. So it was years and years ago. And their national convention always takes place around the 4th of July. And somebody was there, and they had made the United States map or flag. And it was probably like on a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, but it was tactile. So like the blues were a different texture than the reds and the whites.
Oh, yeah.
And then the stars were, but it was to scale, as in it was actually everything was in proportion, I guess I should say. Sure. And those things, like they flew off the table because because again, it's something like our flag is not accessible.
Right.
And so that was like my first real experience of actually feeling the symmetry of it. And it was really, really cool. So something like as simple as that was really life-changing for me. So I would love to stay in touch with you and find out more about when you have stuff coming up, and putting together groups that would, we could experience it together.
Yeah, of course.
Have you ever thought about mixing tactile with audio?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The globe that I want to do, I'm looking at different ways of adding audio to it, because it's basically grouped for continents and oceans. It's a small globe. It's about in millimeters, but I think it's about 6.5 inches in diameter.
Oh,
so it's small enough for a young person to learn from.
Yes.
And what I want to do is somehow add, be able to add sound to it. There's some issues with it. You either are touching it or you're touching it with something else. And I can do a talking pen very easily. The problem is with kids, if you lose the pen, you've lost the interaction. And kids lose things. You can step on them. They're just really dinky little things. There's an app where I could put a QR code on each continent, and you could just hover over with your phone,
right,
and it would read it.
Yeah.
My problem is that how do you know which QR code is reading? You could be physically touching South America, and your phone is reading North America.
Right,
and
right.
All of a sudden you're getting conflicting information.
Well, it sounds like a great project to work on.
It is. I love stuff like that. I have added smell to my projects. That was always...
Everybody was like, "Oh, is your hearing supersonic now?" kind of thing. I was like, "No, it's actually my nose. I have an incredible sense of smell, which isn't always a bonus."
Blessing and a curse.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, Matt, I'm so excited about. I was so excited when Jonathan was telling me about it. I heard your pre-interview, and I guess maybe I should apologize. I just instantly thought that you were visually impaired. And I don't know that you said anything, but one way or the other, but I think I just took it for granted that it was going to take, in my head, it was like, there was never even a question about it. It was like, well, he must be visually impaired if he's working in this area.
Well, I'm taking that as a compliment, because if I don't sound like an ignorant sighted person, then I've done well. So I appreciate that.
No, you're good. Good. Yeah, definitely let me know what's coming up, and we'll announce it over Audio Information Network of Colorado's broadcasts and podcasts to make sure that all of our listeners know about it ahead of time, because we would love to share that. Is there a way that our listeners could reach out to you to find out more about Tech Ed?
I think the best way would be an email, because the amount of information I get from anything but my work email is a lot. But when something comes through my work email, I really pay attention to it.
Okay, so what's your Tech Ed? Your Tech Ed
is MATT at TACT-ED.org.
Okay, great. And we will put that in the podcast notes for anybody who has missed that. And we will actually even put it up on the Audio Information Network of Colorado's website as one of our resources, so that people can go there as well to keep up with what you're doing.
Sure, and that's great. I do have a website too. But,
what's that? Is it accessible?
That was the but. It's not as accessible as it was touted to be.
Okay.
And that's on me, because I didn't do enough research with. I won't say who is running it, but they just started using WordPress as an available option. So I have to convert it manually to WordPress. So I apologize for not reaching my audience well, but it's basically www.tacted.com. So TACT-ED.org. Sorry, not .com.
.org. Okay, great. That's awesome. Yeah. So Matt, I've been asking you a million questions. I always give my guests an opportunity to ask me a question. Do you have a question for me?
Yeah. What's the best tactile interaction you've ever seen?
Oh, that I've ever seen. Well, I used to rock climb a lot, and there's a place down in Arkansas, which sounds like a funny place to have a rock wall, but it's a ranch that is near Fayetteville, and I can't think of the name of the ranch. It's actually quite well known. They have big climbing festivals there every year, but I really loved it because the trail, it's not one of those you can drive up to, jump out of your car, jump on the wall. You actually have to park, and it's a good half mile, maybe even a mile in. And even the trail going in is kind of rough. And, there's bushes and trees and rocks. So, and then when you get up to the wall, it's dead silence because of of how it's located, because there's rock formations around it. So it's very quiet and cool. So even in the summertime, it's very contrasty, because you walk from the heat and the stickiness of the woods into this very cool rock face. And
Yeah.
it's very different kind of rock. It's very soft, but it holds. And that's just when I always think about Tactile, and I think about braille on walls. I always think of that place when I was climbing, because every handhold, every finger hole was different. Some of them were rough, some of them were very smooth. And so that was definitely something that's always stuck with me.
Sounds great.
Well, Matt, again, thank you so much for taking time today. I hope you have a fun celebration over New Year's coming up. And
thank you. Well, you too.
Thank you. And as always, I want to thank the whole entire team at Audio Information Network of Colorado. I could not do this podcast without them. All of you, I hope you have a great new year. Be kind to yourselves this week and find a way to be kind to somebody else. It's good for your soul.